Prophet Lovy Elias, the Kenyan-born pastor who rose from African music royalty to become one of America's most recognizable prophetic voices, built a ministry that inspired millions with messages of faith, healing, and hope. But now, health scares, explosive allegations, and a legal battle threatening everything he has built have cast a shadow over his once unshakable image. So, is this the downfall of a spiritual leader, or another storm he will survive? How did it all come to this? This is the story that captivated believers and critics alike worldwide. The boy raised between fame and faith. Lovy Elias, born Lovy Longomba Jr. on November 25, 1985 in Nairobi, Kenya, entered the world with a legacy few could have imagined. Long before his name would become associated with prophecy, packed church services, and global audiences, he was part of a family already celebrated across Africa for its extraordinary contribution to music. In many ways, the spotlight had been waiting for him since birth. He was raised in a Christian home shaped by both Kenyan and Congolese traditions, where faith and creativity coexisted. Music was not simply entertainment in the Longomba household. It was a way of life. The sounds of rehearsals, instruments, and stories of performances formed the soundtrack of his childhood. His father, Lovy Longomba Sr., was a respected musician and a member of the legendary Congolese band Orchestra Super Mazembe, a group admired by fans across East Africa. His grandfather, Vicky Longomba, was one of the founding members of the iconic Tipok Jazz Orchestra, a band that helped redefine African music for generations. His uncle, Awilo Longomba, would later become one of the continent's most famous soukous stars, adored by audiences around the world. Growing up in such a family, many assumed Lovy's future had already been written. It seemed only natural that he would follow the path of music, fame, and performance. But according to Lovy, there was another calling on his life that reached far beyond concert stages and applause. He has often shared that when he was just 6 years old, he experienced a life-changing vision of Jesus Christ. In that encounter, he says he was given a divine assignment to become a prophet and raise what he described as people of fire across nations. To some, it sounded extraordinary. To others, difficult to understand. But for young Lovy, it became the defining moment of his life. Surrounded by a family that encouraged both faith and spiritual growth, he grew up believing he had been set apart for a purpose much greater than fame, success, or recognition. Even as music opened doors before him, he carried the conviction that his true destiny was still waiting to unfold. Lovy Elias grew up in a family that was deeply rooted in music, rather than Christianity alone. But would he deviate from that musical path to embrace evangelism fully, or would he first follow the path his family was already known for? And if he did, how far would he go in music before stepping into ministry? Let's find out. Before the pulpit. Even though Lovy Elias had grown up believing that God had a special purpose for his life, the world first came to know him for something entirely different. Before the sermons, prophetic declarations, and packed church services, he was a rising music star with dreams of entertaining audiences across the globe. As a teenager, Lovy joined forces with his older brother, Christian Longomba, to form the dynamic musical duo known as the Longombas. Drawing from their rich Congolese heritage, they blended the infectious rhythms of soukous with Kenya's fast-growing urban sound, creating a style that felt fresh, energetic, and impossible to ignore. Their chemistry as brothers, combined with their natural stage presence, quickly won the hearts of music lovers throughout East Africa. Their breakthrough came with the release of the hit single. The song became an instant sensation, dominating airwaves, filling dance floors, and transforming the brothers into household names almost overnight. Suddenly, they were no longer just talented young musicians from Nairobi. They had become celebrities. Fans sang their lyrics, imitated their dance moves, and eagerly followed every step of their journey. The success continued with the release of their debut album, Chukua. The project earned widespread praise and brought with it some of the region's highest honors. The Longombas received the prestigious 2005 Kora Award for Best East African Group, followed by the 2006 Kisima Music Award for Best Group. They performed on major stages, traveled to international events, and appeared destined for a long and prosperous career in entertainment. From the outside, it looked like Lovy had everything a young artist could dream of: fame, recognition, admiration, and an exciting future. Yet behind the applause and flashing lights, another struggle quietly unfolded within him: the spiritual calling he believed had been placed on his life since childhood refused to fade into the background. Everything shifted when he relocated to Los Angeles in 2007. Slowly, music performances gave way to deeper spiritual pursuits. Few could have imagined that the young man who once energized crowds with hit songs would one day stand before congregations around the world, speaking about prophecy, faith, and transformation instead of music and fame. Lovy Elias first explored the music world and achieved great success along that path. But was music simply his bridge to evangelism, or did he continue pursuing other projects before fully stepping into ministry? If so, what did he explore and how successful was he in those areas? Now, let's explore the turning point that transformed Lovy Elias into a global prophetic voice. From Grammy-nominated producer to global prophet, when Lovy Elias moved to Los Angeles in 2007, it marked the beginning of a completely new phase in his life. He had already experienced fame in Africa, but now he was stepping into the heart of the global entertainment world, where competition was fierce and opportunities were both massive and demanding. Instead of staying in front of the camera like he once did as a performer, Lovy chose a quieter path behind the scenes. He began working as a songwriter and music producer, shaping songs for other artists rather than performing them himself. From studios in Los Angeles, he contributed to projects connected to well-known international musicians, slowly building a reputation in the American music industry. His talent eventually led to a breakthrough. He received a Grammy nomination for his work on Iggy Azalea's hit song, "Change Your Life," a moment that confirmed he was operating at a high level in the global music space. For many people, this would have been the peak of success, a dream career built on influence, creativity, and recognition. But even at that height, Lovy later explained that something deeper was happening within him. While his career was rising, he felt a strong inner conviction that his life was meant for something beyond music and fame. According to him, he believed God was calling him to step away from the industry entirely and surrender everything he had worked for. In 2013, after spending years quietly mentoring celebrities, athletes, and individuals seeking guidance, he made a bold decision. He started a small prayer gathering inside his living room. There were no large crowds at first, no big stage, and no global attention, just a simple space where people came together to pray, learn, and seek spiritual direction. That small beginning would later grow into something far bigger than anyone could have expected. It eventually became Revelation Church of Jesus Christ, a ministry centered on prophecy, healing, deliverance, and spiritual teaching. What began as a small home prayer meeting quickly grew into a powerful global movement. Week after week, hundreds gathered in person while thousands more joined online from different countries. Lovy Elias, once known for music, rose into a widely recognized prophetic voice, leading a fast-growing spiritual platform beyond Los Angeles. Beyond Lovy Elias's journey into songwriting and music production, which earned him a Grammy nomination before he fully embraced evangelism, how far did his ministry expand, and what challenges came with such enormous growth? Now, let's dive into the weight of modern ministry. From rising influence to growing pressure. As Revelation Church continued to expand, the weight on Lovy Elias's shoulders also grew heavier. What started as a small prayer group had now become a fast-growing global ministry, reaching people far beyond Los Angeles. Through social media platforms, daily devotional messages like Daily Power Shot, live prophetic sessions, large conferences, and constant international travel, Lovy was no longer seen as just a local pastor. To many of his followers, he had become a spiritual father figure, someone they looked up to for guidance, direction, and answers to deeply personal struggles. People from different parts of the world reached out to him every day. Some were dealing with sickness, others were facing broken relationships, financial stress, fear, or confusion about life. Many believed that a word from him could bring hope or even change their situation. With this level of attention, his ministry grew not just in size but also in emotional weight. However, behind the public image of strength and inspiration, the reality was far more demanding. Every sermon was followed by long hours of counseling. Every prophetic message was followed by countless prayer requests. Every public appearance brought new expectations. The emotional burden of carrying so many people's problems became part of his daily life. At the same time, the pressure of being constantly available never seemed to stop. In a world where everything was online and always visible, there was little space for rest, silence, or privacy. Like many modern spiritual leaders, Lovy was expected to always be strong, always be available, and always have answers. Even when he was tired or overwhelmed, the role he played required him to show up with energy and confidence. Over time, this created a silent pressure that few outside the ministry could truly see or understand. To his supporters, his growing influence was proof of divine blessing and favor. They believed his reach and impact were evidence that his calling was real and powerful. But to his critics, it reflected something different: a rising culture of celebrity-driven Christianity, where spiritual leaders carried the weight of fame as much as faith. The pressure of managing a ministry under Lovy Elias was constant and unrelenting. But how heavy would that pressure become for him? Would he remain strong enough to hide it? Or would an incident eventually expose what he had been carrying all along? And now, let's unravel the moment in Revelation Church that turned celebration into fear. From powerful worship to sudden silence, the atmosphere inside Revelation Church in Los Angeles had been full of life and expectation. Worshippers filled the sanctuary with praise, singing and lifting their voices as they prepared for another powerful Sunday service. Many had come hoping to hear a message of hope, healing, and direction from the well-known prophet, whose teachings had reached people far beyond the walls of the church. Everything seemed normal at first, but then, something unexpected happened. As Lovy Elias stood at the pulpit, those closest to the front began to notice a change. His voice, usually strong and full of energy, started to sound different. It grew softer, less steady. His usual confidence seemed to fade in small but visible moments. At first, some people thought it was just a pause, something he often used to emphasize a deep spiritual point or allow the message to sink in. But this time, the silence continued longer than usual. A sense of concern slowly spread through the room. The energy in the sanctuary shifted from excitement to confusion. Members of the pastoral team quickly moved toward the stage, sensing that something was not right. In the congregation, people began to pray out loud, some with shaking voices, others already in tears as fear quietly settled in. Within moments, the situation became more serious. Lovy appeared weak, and those around him stepped in to support him as the